When I first came to the valley, I loved the palm trees. Palm trees remind me that I'm somewhere warm. It reminds me of growing up and spending summers on the Florida beaches with my family. Simple times before I had any worries. Seeing the palm trees each day in the valley, I'm still reminded of my past, but in a much larger way. It reminds me of two very different worlds that have collided here for over 100 years. Two worlds that have been told they don't belong, they aren't wanted, no matter how hard they work or how honest they are. I fit somewhere in the middle of these two worlds because of what they symbolize to me. What are these two worlds? There's the world of the Valley Jews and the world of the border people. My first time in the valley, over a year ago, I drove to Brownsville and stood in front of the fence, tall and metal and black, looking out at the river and beyond. I wondered what it was like on the other side. I listened to the film commissioner of Brownsville, an older Jewish man who'd survived 3 heart bypass surgeries, talk about what happened to him the last few times he'd crossed the border into Matamoros. He told me never to cross the border. After this, he took me to the city cemetery. We entered and walked to the right, down by the Resakas. This is where the poor people are buried, he explained. Sometimes when it rained really hard, the Resakas flooded and washed away the graves. I cringed at the thought. We walked back through the main part of the cemetery, past all the Gothic-style mausoleums, to a white wall at the end of the road. This is the Jewish cemetery, the film commissioner said. I stood on my tiptoes and peeked over. It was simple and elegant and small. I couldn't believe there was a Jewish cemetery only a couple of miles from the border of Mexico. Who were these people buried here? I soon found out. They were immigrants. They came from France and Lithuania and Poland. They wanted better lives, and they weren't turned away from the valley like they were in so many other places. They were doctors and peddlers, soldiers and businessmen, and some even victims of yellow fever. The oldest grave dates back to 1829. I learned their stories and how they freely crossed back and forth between Mexico and Texas. I learned how they helped build up the communities in the valley and didn't look down on the Mexicans here like many of the other white people did. I learned that many Jewish people sought freedom in Mexico hundreds of years ago during the Inquisition in Europe, and that countless Mexican people today are descendants of them and don't even know it. My religion, Judaism, that has always made me feel a part, flows through the people of the valley and through much of Mexico. It's quiet and calm, but it's there. And in a small way, I feel like maybe I belong here just a little bit. Maybe it's the palm trees and the safe childhood memories they represent. But maybe it's also the people and their willingness to accept the immigrants that came here so long ago. Now there stands a fence, but at one time, both of these worlds traveled freely back and forth across the borders of land, the borders of religion and society, the borders of time.